afternoon. And thanks for coming and welcome to SoundOff Summit. I'm Greg Curtis.
I'm Kerry Clarke.
We'll start with the introductions of ourselves, and then we'll go around the room and find out who's here in the room. Kerry, your background?
Campus Community Radio, WCKWA. I work at Folk Fest and I did some other stuff, but that's my background.
You work at Folk Fest. What do you do at Folk Fest, Kerry?
I'm the artistic development and director, Greg.
So you do a lot of negotiation?
Lots. My life is a negotiation.
And with Kerry and I will have a contest to see who could speak the fastest. So if you're taking notes, good luck. My name's Greg Curtis. I run a company called Blackner Presents. We do at present, I won't give you the whole history, but at present we do exclusive concert bookings for McEwen Hall, McEwen Ballroom, the Grand Theatre, and the Bella Concert Hall. We also do a lot of corporate events, private events, functions with name entertainment music in Canada. And then we also do some festival production and some just general event production. It's Calgary. You have to do a whole lot of everything to make it work.
And then you work. Oh, sorry. Enough. Are you finished? I'm finished. Okay. If everyone just could quickly say their name and what their affiliation is, because we want to get some idea in terms of where you're coming from what you might want to learn. And just, it's nice for everyone to know who everyone is too, because we're all the same. Cool. My name is Ashley, and I'm one of the artists playing at SoundOff Summit. Kerry.
My name is Owen Christian. I'm a filmmaker currently attending SIG.
Great.
I'm Rob, a little artist, operator.
I'm Marianne. I'm an
That's Joe. Folk artist.
I'm the ID music manager.
Folk.
Go ahead. I'm sure.
John. I organize the offers in Margero.
Liam. Cool, Liam. Included.
With Frank. And I work very well.
Leo.
I'm Leo Greer. So I took them in the radio. Great.
Nice.
Great.
I put a shot on the word.
I'm sure. Everything.
You go first. Oh, sorry. You the art and like it.
I don't share.
I know. I'm not sure either. I'm trying to. So sorry. You've got you're covered.
So
okay. I'll go with you in the back then.
Judy, I'm an artist, line musician, and I also part. Tell me.
Yeah.
I'm maybe Jake was not a while. You make my clear my view, and I kill one of the cover.
Sure.
You'll be like for your world.
Well, it sounds like we have a good variety of people, so we won't focus in on one particular aspect of it. Although Kerry and I both come from a live background, so we'll kind of barrel down on that as this goes on. We want to start with kind of a larger talk about what negotiation, the approach to negotiations in general, whether that would be, like you said, life is a negotiation. So everything about negotiations, then we'll get a little more focused on music, and then we'll kind of get into live in particular, because that's our forte. Our specialty, we'll be able to speak to it best and answer questions about the best. And we don't to keep this pretty interactive too. So if anybody has anything they want to say or comment throughout this, don't hesitate to put a hand up, and we'll incorporate you to the discussion. I got lots to talk about. Do you want to lead off with?
No, I want you to start.
Okay, sure. We're talking about negotiation, which is really persuasion is another word you could use. It's not an argument. It's not a debate. It's how can I persuade this person to get what I want and still give them what they want? So when you're negotiating, I think one of the most important things is to always keep uppermost in your mind is, what does the other party want? What are they after in this field? And this is like I say, we're talking about larger negotiation aspects here, so this can apply to almost anything. Yeah, just keep the music industry, but almost anything in the music industry. So always what is that person really after? By keeping that uppermost in your mind, you'll be able to feed into that and be persuasive and go, give them what they think they want or what they think they're getting, and get what I want as well. And hopefully everybody walks out of the deal happy. Of course, negotiations.
Or equally unhappy.
Or equally unhappy.
Perhaps, yes.
Of course, the negotiation is always easier with established relationships. It's friendship for sure, but after a while, you learn to know what the other party needs or requires, and they learn to know what you need to require or what your high priorities are. So establishing relationships makes you that this whole process so much easier. And being here at this event is part of establishing relationships. It's one of many ways to do it. I've done probably, I've lost track of how many Blue Rodeo shows I've done over the years, but a tremendous amount. And I've learned exactly what's important to them in the negotiation process and what you get away with saying no to. So, the negotiation is nuanced. It's not just the how much money are we talking about here. It doesn't come down just to the bottom dollar. There's a million other things that can be involved with that negotiation. And if you can figure out, like I say, if you know the person you're dealing with, you can figure out their requirements and what they appreciate. You can play down those lower points and just like establish the dollar figure immediately, and then play off the rest of those points to make it work for your needs as well. So, the agents can tend to be. We would talk about live for a second. Agents can tend to be quite lazy and just go to the same people that they know. And this is why it's hard to break into the industry, in the live music industry in particular. It's because, why would they start dealing with somebody they never even talked to before? When they can just go to Kerry or myself and just it's one phone call, they know what we need, what we want, and what works for us. And so the deals happen faster and easier, and they can push that off the side of their desk and get on to the next one. So it's important, particularly, this is not necessarily negotiation, but it's important particularly to make friends with people in the industry, and we get those connections happening. And I've often said to people, when you go to a conference like this, or Canadian Music Week, or Breakout West, or there's lots I encourage you to attend as many as possible. The first thing you should do is don't try to get business done at these things. It's going to be next to impossible. As everybody else is here, they're all trying to do business. When you're at these things, make friends. Try to get to know as many people as possible. Get in rooms, go to social occasions. After sessions like this, get talking with us, other people. And because if you become friends with, let's say, an agent, they're more likely to pick up your call than if you were the guy that was pestering them at a conference about getting an act into your room. So, hey, it's that guy. It's Leo who I met at that conference, and I like that guy. Yeah, let's see what he wants. And they'll pick up the phone call or the email or answer the email. So, take an effort to make friends, and that will lead to negotiation being easier as they get to know you and as they know your requirements and your needs. Sorry, I'm just checking my notes here.
If you have those titles, but I have things.
If you want to jump in any time, please take.
No, I will. But
Okay. So now let's go into the next phase of this, and let's talk about the actual negotiation. Be prepared. I know that sounds obvious, but be prepared. Every time I go into something, I go, okay, I know he's going to ask me for this. What can I come back at that I need? That if I give him that, I will get this. Just yesterday, I negotiated a deal for. It's going to gross $100,000 in ticket sales. It's a good sized deal for a concert, and I knew that when I put the deal in, I put in what's called a promoter profit deal. We don't have to get into all those kind of nuances just yet. A promoter profit deal. I knew they're not going to take it because they're not going to like it. That when you get into those kind of grosses on a show, they want what's called a versus deal. So I go, okay, I'll put in the promoter profit deal. But then he's going to come back at me and ask for the versus deal, which is more favorable to the artist. So then I thought, okay, well, what do I want out of that? And before I got on the phone, before I hit any emails, I put, made mental notes and physical notes about what I'm going to need to make this work. Because I know as soon as he comes back to me and I give up on that point, because I was prepared to, the agent will come back to me and give me my points that I want. So I managed to cut a better deal in the end and got certain things put in that I wanted in and other details like that. So that just goes back to being prepared and have, and this applies to almost any negotiations. I know I'm talking about live music because that's where I come from. But I mean, if you're talking about a publishing deal, a record deal, an agent deal, whatever, a management deal for that matter, have those notes prepared and just say, okay, this is what I really want. And you don't go into it cold and have to go away and go, okay, let me think about that. Oh, let me think about that. Let me think about that. Be prepared to go right there and right there. Because the faster you can get the deal done, the easier it's going to be to get it done.
I'm thinking for a lot of people here too, sometimes the question is, you don't even know those things that you want because you don't even know what you're allowed to want. Like I would say probably with a lot of artists, I get asked like, how much this festival's interested in me? How much should I say that I charge? And that's a tough one. And I think, and even with like a record deal.
I'd like to get into that.
Yeah,
real detail a little later on.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm trying to record labels for an artist and I've never done that myself before. And I don't know much about it. And so I asked a friend of mine, like, what are standard deals and because there's a lot of things where you don't know necessarily.
Yeah.
Like, and so
I think there are a lot of fronts for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think whatever the area is, it's good to ask some questions and ask around because like I say, it's kind of hard to know what you want. And then you think, I could have asked for only red Smarties. I didn't know I could.
M&M's.
As M&M
was brown.
Oh, it was brown. Sure. So much for that. Sure. But anyway, and we will get into that because I think with the nods, I think that is a lot of the questions for artists. And I mean, even for me, as somebody who's hiring artists, I still ask. I've been doing this for decades, and I still sometimes ask colleagues because it's hard to know. And sometimes, like with your point, Greg, it's a good point to make the friends. But some of the agents love to deal with new people because then they can say X down is band is worth $12,000 when they're really not. Or
there's some unscrupulous agents out there for sure. There's a lot of unscrupulous people in the music industry. Well, sorry, there used to be more. There's a lot less these days. So be cautious.
And I also find it depends because sometimes the person you're dealing with, like, well, I know with some agents that when they say an artist is X amount, they are. And I know with some of them, so I call it Afghani carpet sales, or it's maybe not fair to Afghans, Afghani people, but it's like, this is $1,000 and you go, 100. And they go, 900. And you go, but this is where we get into negotiation and go, 250. And they go, 300? Because really, it was only worth 300 in the first place. And it's hard to know sometimes, even like you get to know the agents and you know, some people they're going to quote on X and they're going to quote me higher than the Regina Folk Fest. It's because they know we have more money or they think we have more money relative. So sometimes it's hard to know, like you can get to know the person where it's coming from. Because like I say, there's some agents when they say, a certain artist is X amount, I go, yeah, that's what they are and I can afford it or not. And there's certain ones where I'm like, they always inflate it. So I'm going to play that. No, I'm not interested. And they go, $5,000? He's like, no, still not. 1,000?
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, that's a good point. And I wanted to touch on a point you said earlier about not knowing. When it gets to a multi-page contract and the complex contract for a publishing deal, it's time to call that lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for you to negotiate that deal. The money you spend on the lawyer will be well worth it. I had that, Kerry and I both managed Acts over the years too, not very extensively, but somewhat. And I had to do a publishing deal for one of them once, and it was a big publishing deal with a major publisher. And when that contract arrived, I'm going, I'm finding a lawyer because there was too much in there that I just didn't know. But you want a general overview of it. You want to have an understanding of what's going on. That lawyer will go through with a fine-tooth comb, and a good entertainment lawyer will know and have done this so many times that it'll be worth their while. So don't be hesitant to bring in the professionals when it's required. It's worth the money for sure.
A friend of mine was negotiating a record deal, and the contract went on the table, and he looked at it, and went, "No." They took another one from underneath the table that was way more favorable to the artist and put it there, but they tried first to get really what they wanted forwards, and so. Yeah, there's room for negotiation always.
Yeah, and there is always, and everything is negotiable too. Every aspect of everything. You don't realize it first, but I do a lot of these corporate events, and the contracts arrive, and he said they usually end up at the corporate office, and then that bounce back to me to review. But when the corporate person gets them, they're not in the music industry. They're quite naive, and they look at that and they go, we have to do all these things because it says in the contract. Because I gather in some other roles that I have worked in, when the contract arrives, you do everything that's in the contract, but not in the music industry. You take it and you look at it and go, oh, can't do that. Oh, don't really want to do that. Oh, can't afford that. And you send it back to them, and then they send it back to you, and then they send it. Sometimes it can go back and forth. I think I did a Teen and Sir concert. I went back a concert contract that went back and forth probably 6 times with the city or 7 times because it was the city lawyers that they weren't having any of it. They didn't understand any of it. So and sometimes it's easier for a person like that in a city lawyer office just to cross things out than it is to ask and understand what they're asking for. So, and then you have to go back and go, no, you can't cross that out. And, that's all part of the negotiation as well. So, all right. Oh, this is important. Get it in writing. Yeah. Emails have been proven to be legal negotiation points. So emails are fine. Doesn't have to be a contract every time, but whatever it is, no verbal contracts on anything anymore. I learned that lesson the hard way. I've had, never once, I guess, I should have learned it the first time, done a verbal agreement with somebody, thought I negotiated the deal. And then when it comes around to the show or whatever it was, first either, might have failed or demands something else or says, no, this is what it was. One actor showed up and said, oh, no, I need money for this as well. And I was like, no, we didn't say anything about that. He goes, well, it doesn't matter. I'm not going on until you pay me this money. And the room's full, and I go, what am I going to do? I have to, negotiate now at the last second before they go on stage. So nothing verbal. Emails, fine. But get in writing. Whatever aspect of the music industry you're involved in, whatever you're doing, it's an email, just get it in writing. It's like, yeah. And I think it's a lot less verbal negotiation going on. Well, verbal negotiation, but then everybody ends up putting emails in the end anyway. Email. Okay. So let's get into live a little bit because, like I say, this is what we do. So, one of the first things that, and this is as a new artist, you're gonna maybe get offered a gig or be looking for a gig, and the first thing you're gonna ask yourself is what is the gig? What you want to do is before you say yes, no, I want this much money, is analyze what the gig is. You touched on this because people, it's the Folk Fest. What is it? Well, a Folk Fest is, in Calgary's case, is a pretty high profile gig. It's a really high profile gig. They treat you really well. You look good on that poster. You can put it and show your parents. And invariably, I'm careful about this, but you get paid better than you would for a bar gig for sure.
And a lot of other festivals in town.
Yeah, and perhaps some other festivals in town. But it's but to do that now, so now you've analyzed the gig. You say, okay, the Folk Fest, this is a big deal. This is about some coffee house. So you're going to now negotiate the deal. You're going to want to do the gig for sure. What do you want out of that gig? Like what do you need? You're getting a lot already. They're going to probably pay you fairly well. So I think in a situation like that, you're probably willing to give up a lot of, situations. What I had to play at 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning, I have to, sorry, somebody asked to, I'll give that up. Okay, well, yeah, I could play the gig. I will. Oh, I'm on this stage that's over there it's the free stage that it's not really part of the festival kind of it, but it is. There's things like that you're going to have to, compromise on. But as
They're causing some trauma here.
Sorry. But as a new artist, you're not headlining the main stage. So you're going to, there's an opportunity there that you've analyzed the gig and said, this gig is worth it for all these points. I'm willing to give up all these points. That's part of that advanced work that you do and make notes for yourself and go, okay, this is what I prepared to say. And you're not going to roll in there and act tough and say, oh, I want $3,000 more than I usually get. It's like, no, I'm willing to do this gig because it's an important gig.
I think it is which position you're in as a negotiator is what you're talking about.
Yes.
You more.
So, well, no, I was going to say what's the opposite of that. Maybe you can, talk about the opposite gig of that, where it's a gig that it really stinks.
Yeah.
But hell, I'm not playing on that. I got a dead night, cold night anyway. So,
Well, yeah, I guess it's kind of position you're in it. And again, if you're local, then you might say, well, this is what they pay and this is what I want to do. And so you do it. And so I don't think there's as much room with some of the festivals. There's maybe not as much room, depending if you're more of an emerging artist. You sometimes have to say there's lots of room for negotiation. You kind of say yes or no. That's perfect negotiation.
Depends where you're at too, though. Because I'm thinking about an example, say of I don't want to name clubs, but say there's a live music club in town, and you get the phone call. It's like, hey, I got this guy touring in from Ontario. I need it to draw a few more fans out. I know you've got a bit of a base there. I want you to be the first of 4 bands on a bill at a nightclub.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be on at 7:30. And it's just like, well, wait a second. Maybe my career is a little bit better than that right now. slightly better. Maybe it may not be. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes that's the dick to take. But say you're you're going, wait, I'm drawing up, 80 people out every time I play, and they're not grandma and grandpa, they're fans, actual fans. So, you may want to come back at a negotiation like that. Go, I don't want to be first on the bill. I'm willing to do the gig. Willing to work for this guy from Ontario that people barely know, but I want to be great. I want to be direct support. I want to be right before this person goes on. So, those are points that you can
Sure. Or even at the festival, like, you could say, for instance, like picking people that I know. But you could say one of our band members has a reason that they can't perform on one of the days. For instance, that's part of negotiation, is having a conversation about when you're available.
You can make that up or like tell me the truth.
No, I mean, that happens all the time.
It does happen, yeah.
I mean, I had Arrested Development play and they were amazing. They came in on Friday, they did a couple things, and then they had a wedding on Saturday and they came back Sunday and played.
Oh, wow.
But local artists could say that. They could say, for whatever reason, and I've had local artists say, hey, we've got a gig in town that night. And can we play during the day, or one of our band members has a wedding, or he has another reason for not playing on the Sunday. Like, those are also things you can negotiate.
Right.
It's not as hard and heavy, but it's good to just put the cards on the table. This is what we're available to do or not available to do. And also, like with us, we have people do collaborative sessions. Like, part of negotiation could be, hey, I'm totally open to doing these, but some of the band members aren't comfortable with this, or, there's some people that we don't want to play with. Like, those are also things you can negotiate. I mean, it's a little finer when it gets to it, but
you may say you don't fit with the bill.
But those are all things like when I'm negotiating bands, I'm saying to them, here's your offer. You're going to get paid this much. You're going to do these things. And then I get a lot of American, and especially artists. So I don't want to do those workshops. And it's like, well, then you don't want to play. Like, we really want to play your festival, but we don't want to do the workshops. So you don't want to play the festival. So things like that.
Sometimes the answer is no.
And so sometimes I say no. And so, yes, there are things that you find negotiating.
Will you negotiate with the hospitality rider with a local band?
No, it's just, hey, we give you food and
we give you food.
Yeah.
Do they get drink tickets or anything?
Yep. Everyone gets drink tickets. Everyone gets the same number of drink tickets, and then we have some extras.
So that's not a negotiation point with you ever?
No.
What is a larger band? And they're
I wouldn't negotiate the hospitality rider. We just book them, and then afterwards we cross stuff out. We'd have a conversation, because hospitality riders are often like, so many of the work with us. This much news, and no, their news is for if they're doing their own show and they're inviting their friends back, and so that's why they have so much booze. But this is, we're gonna we'll give them a bottle of tequila, but they don't get 3 bottles of tequila and a bottle of bourbon and 24 beers. But I don't negotiate that when I hire the band. That's afterwards. And also they have things where it's like, they have standard things like nacho chips and hummus, and we got all that stuff backstage, so we're not going to give you the specific.
Not in their dressing room area.
No, just the headlining artists get stuff in their dressing room area. And then sometimes people go in and they try and scavenge after the fact. Emmylou Harris's dressing room, you see all these other artists, and they're trying to take
what's that work? And what about tech? Would you negotiate tech in advance?
Somewhat. What I'm finding, and this is for bigger
tech being like lighting, sound, backline.
We'll see with headliners, they're actually saying we require this in order to play, and so I'm talking about that. And
I'm seeing that more and more, by the way, where people send out before the contract gets signed, they're sending out the technical rider going, can you provide all this first before we sign this contract?
Yeah. And with the bigger artists, and I'm getting driven crazy by this, but they're also trying to get you to spend $5,000 US more on a backline buyout. And I just say no.
Right.
So there's that.
You're in that position.
Yeah. But that's separate. But I think the only thing is that it's good to say this is what we are, and do you have this? I mean, it could be a local band that has some specific thing you need, or if you only play with in-ears, go, okay, well, that's good to know in advance. But I don't think it would be a negotiation point. It's more of a production details after the fact than a negotiation point.
So I wonder now if you're an upcoming act from Calgary and you want to play in a club, or you're opening act on a larger bill in a concert hall of some sort, if that's doesn't become a negotiating point for you. You're only paying us $200 because it's I get to open for a larger headliner. It's a gig, I can't resist. But my band really likes drinking, high quality craft beer. can we make sure that it's like craft, 24 craft beer on the rider? We do that. Or how about you're playing a club and it's you have a projection thing you want to do. That club's not known for doing any projection, but you'll bring it in, you'll pay for it, do it all. But you want to make sure that that's okay. I'll do this gig, but we're going to bring our whole projection unit in here, and we're going to do this thing and this thing, and then use that as negotiating tool, guys, to get what you want out of the deal. If you're not getting everything, and make sure that the promoter's getting what they want as well. So
I think what you bring to the table is a really good point, because sometimes you hear artists say, "No, can this club and it's not worth it." It's like, okay, but how many people can you bring out? But if you can go, like, I think the Ironwood is pretty good for this, where they'll do a deal where if you do your album release there and you sell 1,500 tickets, so they're $20 each, I think you're getting a lot of that money. And
yeah, they do. It's mostly door deals there.
I think a door deal is good. And if you actually can show, like Greg said, even if you're sometimes, the local band's going to draw more than the band from Montreal. So you do trades with them, and you should ask for more, because if they're charging a certain amount at the door and you pull 12, if they're dividing the money up these ways, like, I think it's fair to ask the clubs. Because it is frustrating that I used to manage a band years ago, and I was really their agent like 30 years ago, and now I'm like blown away terribly by the fact that sometimes fees seem the same as what I was negotiating for this band 30 years ago when I was 2.
Yeah.
I was 2.
You're right. This money hasn't gone up that much over the years.
And in terms of festivals, like, a lot of it is sort of in between what someone says they can pay you and what you think you need. And for instance, like at our festival, I've got sort of a certain level for Canadian emerging artists. And it doesn't cover their flights, but hopefully it covers enough that it should cover their flights, but really they have to find other shows. So I guess certain help for emerging artists, and then there's certain amounts for if people draw, but it's not an exact science. Like, it's not like, it felt like going into a store, like, well, that's probably only $20, and that still fits 200. I get it. It's not the same. It's not even like housing prices. It's a really weird thing, artist fees, because sometimes it's based on their, like, they're a legend and maybe they don't draw a lot, but this is what they do. This is what it's going to take for them to leave their house. And sometimes it's the draw. And it's weird because I've looked sometimes at artists and how much we pay them and they draw and go, wow, that artist wasn't a very good value. This was a good value, but also, so that just to touch on that, it's also a name on a poster sometimes you want. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily their specific draw. It's like, oh, that's a great looking name on a poster. So, but you've also got so much money when you have to make 70 artists work for the budget that I have for any festival to have those wonderful names on folks and get that drawn, because you need accommodation things. And then I've got sort of the standard fee for local artists, unless they're selling 500 tickets in town. But also, for instance, with local artists, I don't demand exclusivity because I don't think it's fair, because I think we're not paying enough for that. Just to touch on your the idea of flights, I never paid for flights, ever, because I negotiate the flights into the fees. And so, we need flights. Oh, well, here's extra $2,000. So there's your flights. I'll just put it in the guarantee, because if you have to pay for the flights, they're going to book the flights that suit them at the last second and they're the most expensive. If you foist it on the artist to book the flights, they're going to book the cheapest flight they possibly can, because it's their money. Now, the only reason they don't like that is because now they're commissioned on that guarantee. So if it was $10,000 plus I added $2,000 in for flights, the manager and the agent get the commission on that. What do you know? So that's not very. Yeah. And back to that, I mean, we had a grant session earlier, and like, hopefully you can find travel grant, give enough shows. Hopefully, the amount is enough that it kind of covers the flights. But, you sometimes have people go, well, the agent goes, well, it's not enough because they have to pay me this much and this. I'm like, that's not my problem. I have this much money for your artist. How you allocate that and what your reality is your issue.
I thought you'd be very persuasive.
And sometimes physical adaptation and sometimes walking away, like saying no.
Yes.
The other thing I found, and which was on this end, but I learned from another friend that when an agent is about to confirm, especially a big artist, they ask you for more money. And before I was really scared, like, okay, you got $5 more grand or whatever. And now I just say no. And they go, well, 2,500? And I go, no. And they go, 1,000? Sometimes I go, yeah, or I go, it's okay. And then they hang up the phone and they're like, oh, we'll get back to you. And to tell them, just walk around the room, reorganizing their phone in their friend just so they don't look desperate. And then they come back and go, okay. But it takes a while, and it depends how much you want someone. Because, I'm looking on behalf of an organization, and if I don't get a lineup that sells or that's diverse or that they think is interesting, it's on me. So you have to kind of make that judgment call of when you say no, when you say yes. And when
Talk about door deals for a second. It's a little off topic, but if you do cut a door deal with a club in town or whatever, Ironwood or whatever it is, and you get paid off that, don't just pad out the room with relatives and friends. I mean, a few of that's going to come anyway, and they're going to come see you play. Those are the people you need to lose almost immediately when you're starting out, because they're not going to stick with you, and they're not real fans, and they're not buying merch. Well, other to patronize you. So don't. Yeah, I see this happen so often. Is it like get rid of the family as quick as you can, and why don't
make them pay a full price at the door?
Well, even so, but yeah, I'm still going to do that. But you want to know where you stand in the marketplace. You want to know who your fans are, and that's not an indicator. I've seen it happen so many times. It's like, look at they filled the place, but I mean, people are their fans, but these are their family. It's like I expect them to do it, but that's right.
Although
that's off topic.
Start off with that, maybe you can grow on top of that. I mean,
when you first couple in Edmonton, I said lose them as soon as possible. The first couple of gigs they're going to go no matter what anyway. So
we know an Edmonton artist that filled it with church ladies, and then has now got real fans somehow. But no, he doesn't. He doesn't. No, I don't. I've never read about that.
I lost quite a bit of money on that now. For sure. We were right. It was church ladies. Yeah, you got all the women from the church to support him in a big way. He was a big church, and the
way that it was in the church, he played at Winspear.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
Winspear and the age of
careful, you're going to figure out who you're talking about.
Played at the Winspear, and they was like, oh yeah, the age of Poby, like, oh,
it was full.
Huge, it was full, and then it was like, oh,
that's weird. Yeah, I was weird. Why is that full? Anyway, it was. It turns out he was a member of a big church, and he was selling it at the church.
Oh, yeah.
We buy tickets at the church, and it was he's one of our guys. We support one of our guys, and then we turned around and so that worked really well, and then we turned around and lost those bits, tried to do it by himself without doing that. It didn't work.
Well, some people are good self-promoters, and sometimes it actually can work for them. But yeah. I said we shouldn't name names, and you were like, don't care, we're naming names. The other day we ran into each other in that. You got more points when you're cheating.
Yeah, for sure. If the deal changes and or cancels, this happens more than you might think. And more, I'd like it to happen. I mean, sometimes legit reasons, sometimes not so legit. Oh, we got a late night TV show. We get to do that instead of, were you off? I got that one. Have you had that one?
We're in a film. Yeah.
We're in a film. Yeah.
We got a really good tour with so-and-so.
Yeah, but we're doing late night with Letterman or whatever it was, Letterman.
Which is the case for most of you here, and you can just start saying, you're doing late night with Letterman.
Sorry, I got to do it again. Well, the trouble is that in our business, there's little recourse for that. I mean, it's such a small business. What your options are, you could take them to court. Like, they're going to chew up lawyers' fees, and what are you going to do? That's not going to do any good in the long run. The other thing is to never work with them again kind of vibe. It's just like, this person, whether it's on our end or the artist end, I mean, either way, and say, forget it. But again, this business is too small. You're probably going to end up working with them at some point. There's a few people in town that manage it for a lot of money. Most people end up just digging in the business anyway. So I often just take the opposite approach and go, okay, the person blew off the show, or the club. Let's say that the nightclub blew you off because the local team got into the playoffs, and they've got to show the playoff game. Well, they can't have you playing during the playoff game, so they cancel your gig on it. That happens. That actually happens. So I would turn around and say, rather than get mad and dissing this thing and shitting on them with everybody I would renegotiate it. Get them on the phone and go, okay, you're blowing me off. Let's use that example. You're blowing me off because the local team made the game, the playoffs. So I get it. You got to show the playoffs. It's crucial to your business. I want a Saturday night, and I want a headline. I want to build myself. I want to be able to put together 3 bands that are buddies of mine that know what they're doing, and I want to do that. I try to go and use that point to turn it around and to go get something better for yourself out of it. It's really the only option because the other options really don't exist. They don't do anybody any good.
I think it's doing great.
Thanks. Now, if somebody's being totally malicious, by the way, you should warn other people. That does exist as well, but it's rare. Somebody's like, somebody's just a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so deal with them. You let people know.
But on the other side, like during COVID, we all had to cancel, and the agents were very understanding because they know that, like, you could say, well, I demand that when we keep the deposit, but then I can see that if you go out of business, their artist isn't that's a very short, like it's a long game, and your artist got the deposit wrong. They're not getting gigs from you because you don't exist. So I found, like, during COVID, people really understand.
Yeah, a very good example of that is, I think your partners, that Wilco show. Yeah, your partners.
Yeah.
So we had Wilco, and they played Winnipeg. COVID hit.
March 13th was our show.
Yeah, at the Jack Center, totally sold out. Every single feed. Never had a show sold out that much. Wilco and the agent were so good about it.
They did come all the way there. Like, they had expenses.
Yeah, they gave back the deposit, and it's like, okay, it's sorry. 2 years later, roughly, they came back and did a way better, bigger show for us, a way longer show, and cut us a really spoken deal. They were so good about it.
But exactly, they were particularly good agents, and he'd been in it for a long time. He's one of the best independent agents in the States, and he recognizes that because it's actually what Greg said. It's about relationship. It's less.
The agent? Craig Bradley. Yeah. The High Road Touring.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
During the pandemic, when some of his artists did streaming shows instead of it, he decided he wasn't taking any of the agents and cut. It was small amounts of money for the artist, but it was significant. And he's still there. He's still an agent, and it's one of the best. It's one of only the last independent agencies in the States. But he remembers. And I remember, like, I had an artist who had to cancel for real reasons. I think there's a family issue or something. And the next year I said, no, I'm committed. I've committed to booking that artist. I'm going to book that artist next year. And the agent was really appreciative because it is about relationships. And if you were interested in an artist then, there's no reason you can't be interested again. And they give you good notice. And like, what can you do? As Sean says, what can you do?
The people that are in the business for any length of time are usually the people that are doing it right. The people that come and go, and there's lots that come and go, are doing something wrong. So if you can work with people that have been around for a long time, you're probably going to be better off. So that's a gross generality, but
And you feel that happens sometimes. It should be exactly that you get maybe
if you, especially if you're going to perform out of town. Like, for instance, it's smaller festivals and newer festivals. They'll say that agent will get back to me. It's like, that's what they won't, because they don't know. They don't know that they're not sending their artists into a vacuum where nothing's going to happen. And they've said they're going to pay you a certain amount, and they don't, and they're fly by night. Like, that happens out there. And so there is a reason why agents will be careful sometimes, and why a smaller festival or a newer festival won't get a call back. They want to know, and that's the thing with something like ours, they want to know it's got a long history, that people can pay, that they've been treated well, that it's a good show. So feel free to ask around if you're not sure about a promoter. I mean, maybe if it's in town and the gig falls through, it's not such a big deal. But if you're going to be sent somewhere else, if you're going out of town, and if you're nervous about it, feel free to ask me or Greg or Colleen, or ask somebody, because word does spread about people that are unscrupulous. And there's a lot of them. People pop off them. They want to be in music business. They want to do a festival.
But some people are just naive, and they just go, I'm going to put on a big show. And they'll give you a call, and you go, come play this. I'm going to have this gig. I got like 20 local bands on it. It's going to be huge. I booked out this big hall. And they really, again, do your homework. If it smells a little funny, maybe it is. It's, has that person done a lot of shows before? What's their track record for actually promoting shows? And who are these other bands that are on the bill? Are they going to draw people? Are you familiar with them? Are they just a big handful of unknown people that this person's thrown together? I've seen a lot of those gigs come and just ration around here. You won't even I mentioned earlier, I put concert halls. You won't take all of those shows. We got a call from a local promoter we've never heard of that go. And the bands, we looked into the bands, and the bands aren't anybody I've ever heard of. But they think they're naive, and they think I'm sorry for them, but They think if they put a bunch of bands today, then they're going to draw out all their friends and everybody else, and they just don't realize that that's not the case. Not going to feel those numbers are full that up like that. So, just learned over the years. I want to take some questions unless you have some more. Yeah, I want to get a little more discussion going as opposed to us yapping at you. And so at the back there, I see the hair.
Well, thank you. Now, without people, like, be quiet. Or whatever, but when they're not only part of it, or I'm like with it, or something, we're like, oh, I'm still, I know what I told your from this. What's that?
And those are really good points about negotiation that you usually think of it as time and money. And I think that's a really good point that we could have brought up. That's how often we think about it. But yes,
I'll be on your
yeah. I mean, for me, it's mostly, and this isn't very sexy, but mostly it's the things like the hidden sort of backline or the equipment or things like that, or something where maybe it's cultural and someone hasn't mentioned that they really require a certain accommodation that might be unusual. And for instance, like Merritt Tyler is a good friend, and he's really interested in what he's Cree, and he's really interested when he goes across the country and what are the pitfalls for Indigenous folks in that area, and they might want to negotiate. I mean, I need to think about with our festival, like, okay, well, we're all site licensed. What if there's a group, like there's a certain group where alcohol is a problem, or where they have a sacred drum and you can't have that drum near side of the area where it's roots. So those are things that I'm learning is more sort of cultural, or South Asian artists, they might have to have a carpet underneath, and their set might have to be a certain length. So for me, I find it for maybe cultural or that kind of thing.
That's negotiated a deal where there's an act called Mustafa out of Toronto. I don't know what it says. And you're not allowed to have a bar. Like, in what venue doesn't have a bar? Like, even in the lobby, in a profit theater. And it's just like, he won't play a place that does that. It's like, okay, well, so that's funny because it became a point of negotiation. Okay, so now you're not getting the bar revenue. What can we do to make this work? The agent was willing to discuss that.
So for, as an artist, what do you, obviously, the flow is, what is your workflow for bringing the table or negotiation? Absolutely. For me, guy, obviously, pay comes after you kind of connect for the first thing. And I kind of work like at the tech writer, but I kind of work like an writer into my YouTube to like book other people who don't want like tech. So where do I throw that into how and things like that? Lately, I play a band with a person with disability, and we're like, we need a cream to wash our for their process. So what's like the idea where over in this and
a lot of that, some of that's very specific. I mean, we said everything's negotiable, right? So this is all, so there's so much involved there. But if it's going to be something that's that much of a priority and that much of an issue, and importantly so, you want to bring it up very, very early in the conversation, obviously. You don't want to cut the deal with the gig. Obviously the money is the first thing that ever comes out of anybody's mouth. But you want to cut the deal and then come back and, oh, by the way, we need. There's a difference between need and want, obviously, too. And because some of them will sound like needs. If there's a ramp to the stage, if the person's in a chair or something, that's a need. So that should be discussed very early in the process for sure.
This kind of like rider or hospitality. Does that come in front too? That's usually something that kind of comes later.
Well, a combination, maybe not, because that can get pretty pricey depending on the situation. But yeah, hospitality, you can talk about it, discuss it later. What you normally do in that situation is you just cut the deal, say accommodations are included and backline are included or whatever the situation is. And then you would ship off a hospitality rider to the venue or the promoter. And they would then say, oh, wait a second. And then you negotiate the hospitality writer. Maybe the tech writer gets negotiated after the fact too.
I'd say whatever are the internal deals, right? The negotiation, whatever are the deal breakers. So like Greg said, if a route to the stage is a deal breaker and they couldn't do it without it, then you do those up front. To me, hospitality, unless you're going to be a complete diva and go, well, I can't play because you're not getting me T-bone steak or whatever, then those come later. But the things that are the absolute have to have and the things you have to negotiate, like what are the times of the show? What is the venue? Like what are the logistics? Well, I don't know.
Jump in there. I talked about, what does the person require, and then listen to think of what they require and then work with that. So, I don't tell people this, but I'm going to now. I produce Cowboys Tent. So it's not on my resume. It doesn't really get with my company for ad. But I put that together for them and help them make that happen for that stampede. One of the things we do there is that the hospitality writers in some of those acts, they're arena level acts, can be outlandish, like just unbelievable. I should have brought some, but they're just like unbelievable, like thousands of dollars worth of tequila, like that. They, especially with certain genres, they want the highest end product and 2 or 3 bottles of it. And DJs, a lot of them want a lot of that stuff. Our policy there is to give them all that stuff. We don't negotiate the hospitality writer, which surprises people. But the reason is that they are not getting everything else on the other end. They are not getting the technical requirements they require. They may not be getting the exact backline they require. They may not be getting the stage size they require. They may not getting the lighting they require. They're not getting the pyro they require because it's a tent. They're not. So they're going to beat up over here. If I keep them happy over here, it's going to cost a couple $1,000s for sure. But that's going to, hopefully the artist that goes backstage sees that and walks away and goes, oh, it was a great gig.
It's also not getting money anyway, so.
That's I can land that if I spend the money.
Sorry, one question here and one back here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one of the wondering is if you're someone who's not particularly good with being social or being, like if you're introverted, for example, what's a good way to kind of practice negotiation? In general, it's a good way to get started or practicing negotiation. So you can have those skills ready for when you have them for when they really matter.
It's nice to have a manager, right? That would be the manager's job for sure, is to take care of all of that. Let's face it, artists aren't necessarily supposed to be good at that. They're supposed to be good at writing songs and being creative. So it's not necessary. The fact that in the initial part of your career, you have to be business as well as artist is a drag. Hopefully you get to the point where somebody's handling your business and you're paying attention to it because you can't just let it fly. But that somebody else is handling most of the business and you're being the artist. That's the ideal solution to that.
But aside from role playing, I'm not sure what the best thing is, except for that everything starts small. Like we have small negotiations all the time in our lives. And I guess like anything else, if you have a lack of comfort with it, you have to try and put yourself in a few situations and try, or like I say, role play. I don't know what else to say.
Actually, I would say find like a couple of producers who try to work on their song with. When I check them and come up with it, they talk about maybe the producers being friendly with the fun, but their size so that they just wait for where they are in the to start the negotiating process with a little bit of money or a little bit of like longer digging in there. One like a smaller pool coming into hiring you or things.
That's a really good point.
But my question was about work, but they still love in my creative. The promoters work. So I want to hear you part of your costs and program, and I've been never further negotiation or the new one is I love that. People don't even know it as on a table until they show up and do it.
Almost every show at a certain level, merch is negotiated.
Okay.
And it's interesting because there's been an artist movement in the last few years. You're probably aware of where they're really sort of attacking that and trying. And there are some venues that have responded and said we don't need to charge it. Like for instance, at Festival Hall, we say we'll charge $0 for merch if you sell your own, but if we're selling it, then we'll charge. At the festival, we go, sorry, we can't. Like you try and negotiate like 10% on soft merch and 20 on hard, or vice versa.
Soft being t-shirts and
like yeah.
thing.
And we've just said, sorry, no, because like we have a certain cost, even though it's volunteers running the tent, we have a certain cost to putting up the tent and to doing all this. And quite honestly, you're going to sell more because we've got, as opposed to you trying to do it off the stage and be chaotic. So it's something you probably can talk about because things are being talked about in the industry that way, but you might find that
It's been fluctuating since it first appeared. It used to be like, the band would show up and they'd have a crappy t-shirt there that we were selling for $10. And then they'd give you a couple at the end of the night for the banks. And then pretty soon you started, you got bigger and bigger and bigger. And you started seeing Gap stores move in. And so if you're a venue, you don't want to, there's skateboards and panties and all kinds of stuff going on for sale here. And you have to go, well, I didn't book a retail space here for you guys. So that then became, then the negotiation came in and now the artists are fighting back again. So this is a fluctuating thing, merchandise. It's ongoing.
And with festivals, sometimes they're saying, you don't look at that. Because otherwise you end up like, we had Stomp and Tom, he had 18,000 pounds of merch. He brought them in a truck. And then they took it out the day after, which was stupid, and to leave it for the rest of the weekend. So it didn't even sell that much. So, so many people, because you have to do the count in and count out. And so sometimes venues are saying, like, maybe if it's your own show and it's fine. But sometimes if you're on a multi-band show or a multi-artist show, they might limit it.
At the same time, if you walk into a nightclub and they point to a dirty table in the corner that's still got beer stains on it with no lights on it and tell you, give me 20% of that, say fuck off. It's like, give me something for that. Again,
Fuck off is a negotiating term.
that's right. We say everything's negotiable. That shit in virtue is negotiable. Okay, you want 20% of my merch rate. I want lights and I want a cellar, or whatever it is. I'm just throwing this out here, but there's points to make that work too. So I'll give you 15%. You give me clean off that table and give me lights and put it by the front door. Right?
Fuck off the same. Fuck off in a morning.
That's right. In the door. Yeah. It's in a persuasive way. He's persuasive. Your question?
Went through, like, figure it out. You never heard it before. With, like, comic promoter.
Their history. You can see their history and people know them.
It's so frustrating to break into this business, but once you're in, you can stay in,
Yeah. And asking around. Hey, Leo.
Promote. Never hard. Hard. Drawing. All of the the full or on airplane. You want the art, and you got the art. One maybe that. Oh, the one. Yeah. Art.
Leo, you're right. And I would take that and apply that across the board to not just promoters, but to agents, to publicists, to credibility is important. And this kind of goes back to your point is who can I trust? And artists, for that matter, credibility of the artist. Everybody in the business that lasted has developed a certain level of credibility, for sure. We don't have much time left, but that's a good question. You try not to get that bold for, of course, but wow.
I don't think it's any different than if you're in the doghouse in your relationship and you have to go, listen, I'm a good person. I've done this like anything else in life only it's business. So if you've got a restaurant that, created food poisoning and no one wants to go there, but if you can improve the food and then somehow get people in and somehow get a good review, or if you've done something wrong in the industry and you try and do it right and try and get people out, it's all about just like anything. I think it's no different than anything else in life, really. That's the thing about this business is it's like everything else. Only Greg once said to me, the reason you and I still have jobs here is because no one understands it. Like people kind of go, oh, Data Hector makes a ton of money. If I was to get them to my show or to come, it'd be really expensive. But people phone us all the time and go, yeah, so it's the Ladies Coolio Auxiliary in Kelowna and we're having a fundraiser and we're thinking Katie Lang would be great. And it's like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
My cousin's best friend aunt went to high school with Katie Lang. So I figured
this happens like on a weekly basis, these cold calls. And I even how this business works is incredible.
Yeah, and it's always that of like, oh yeah, someone wanted to apply to me the science. They wanted Thomas Dolby for like 30 grand or something.
Oh, I had somebody phone me up and say they wanted David Bowie. I'm going, you realize he's hasn't played it for years. I had that happen too. Somebody phoned me up with something. He was dead. I was like, that person's not here. Okay, we're kind of running out of time, and let's take one more question. What's playing out for it? What's your line? Percent.
It depends on the venue you're using. So if you're the Ironwood and you already have the cost, then you might say, hey, we're on a Sunday night and they can come in and they're making the door and that's it. And
they'll give you 100% of the door.
They'll give you 100 or 90% of the door, but then they might go, I can only do so many of these because I also didn't sell any F&B, food and bed.
Yeah, but at the same time, if I'm the promoter going into the Ironwood with the artist, I have overhead. I have to, I pay for myself. I have to, I pay for my administration, the marketing and all that. So then the percentage gets cut back because now you're dealing with me to go to Ironwood.
And when those deals
the scenarios are so good.
Yeah, it starts with whatever the budget is. And so if someone wants to rent a venue and pay $1,000 and pay $500 on marketing and pay this and that, then you might get a guarantee versus our percentage. And it, I'll just tell you, for instance, like say someone's playing Festival Hall, it's 200 people. I'm guaranteeing them 1,200. It's a touring. This is actually about normal. It's a touring band. They're getting paid guaranteed 1,200. If they sell it out at a $30 ticket, they're probably walking away with $2,000, 2,200 for the whole band. But they're on a tour. At the festival, I pay them more than that. But they're on a tour, so they're going, okay, I'm making $2,000, $2,000, $2,000, $2,000, $2,000. They would never play for 1,200 at the festival. I would never,
because they have to also get their transportation or accommodation, perhaps.
Well,
usually it's a percentage of the ticket.
It's a percentage of the ticket, but say
we're taking the risk as a promoter, and we get a percentage of the.
And it depends. Like festivals are all venues, so I don't have to. The venue cost is there, but then if Greg comes to use Festival Hall, all of a sudden it's more expensive for him because we're charging him rent, and so then he might guarantee less, or he might have to charge more for that
to make it work. I'd imagine it's supposed to be done right.
I think so. Was there anything else quickly that I can
tell a really quick negotiation?
Yes, do.
Okay. So I'm on the phone with his agent for this guy's not no longer around. That full story. Ike Turk got a reputation. Ike Turner, the fishing Ike Turner deal.
Oh no, he wasn't the agent. I was like,
no. So he was that's who the act was. I like Turner fame.
Before he died, he was an agent.
He was like I got to pick off the bottom. Anyway, so about the bull, and the agent's phoning me back like about every 3 days with something new. It's like, oh, we've got the deal cut. I'm ready to go with the show. I'm hesitant about the show anyway. I'm not really, you know, he had a bad reputation for beating up Tina and stuff. It wasn't very good at the time. And, but he was a genuine veg rock roll anyways. So I'm negotiating with the agent, and he comes back and he goes, "Oh no, we need a presidential suite now, and that's the nicest hotel room in town." I'm going, "Really? Okay." Well, and I'm done run the numbers, I guess. Okay, and then and this is after the deal's cut. Oh, we need this, we need this, we need this, and then the last one was, and this is every couple of days. I mean, with something new. I'm going. He said, "We need a limo ride to Edmonton for a gig. You have to book a limo and take him up to Edmonton." I'm going. I'll get back to you. I'm thinking about it at night. I'm staying awake. I'm going, this deal sucks. This thing's gonna crash and burn. I'm gonna lose a fortune. I'm just like, I've had enough. I've had enough. You know, he pulls back the next day with another thing. I don't remember what the hell it was. And I go, "Hey, listen, no, I'm out." He goes, "No, I'm done. I'm not doing this show. I quit. I'm out." No, I'm not doing it. The penny drops. And he realizes that I'm actually not going to do the show now. And he's lost the gig. Well, Mull is the consensus. And he goes for sugar now. And he's like, "You know what you are? You're a fucking asshole." And he's just like lighting into me like this. And he's just like yelling at me. Jade. He goes, "What?" They've heard of again.
I'm going to tell you one thing from that too. If someone constantly changes the goalpost, I'm not interested. Like I want to. I like negotiation. I had a woman working for me, Chantal Vitalis, amazing art. And she goes, "I can never do your job. I hate negotiation." I'm like, I love negotiating. But I don't love it so much, so I want to keep negotiating. I want to negotiate to get something we're settled on so we can now move forward to the next step. Like that example of changing the goalposts all the time, I have no patience for it. And, you know, we're working with a company right now, the festival, that keeps doing that to us. And I'm just at my limit. On with you. Hard.
Sorry. I would
Well, you finish the deal and then you move on and you work and you then go to the next one. But like I said, if people always, I would have been the same. Like you just change the goalposts.
Yeah.
And I know you're going to do it again tomorrow. Like I'm just done this time with negotiation or with relationships where I just go, I'm done myself. Because like I said, the next day I've got another negotiation for another thing.
Yeah, I can't be doing this. Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, we should wrap up. Thanks for that, everybody.